just for a little bit of background, the entire reason that I was making this repair is because after, 3 years and so many times of yanking the headphone cable out of the monitor port of my Scarlett 2i2 3rd gen, it finally broke. It was functional still, but essentially the right channel pin was not quite aligned anymore, so it wasn't making great contact with the jack from the headphones. And I tried to mend it back in place, or ultimately, even on the extreme end, I put a blob of solder on it so that it would reach a little further down, and that did help a little bit, but it was kind of a hacky solution, and I didn't really care for it that much. So here we are, and we're just gonna hop straight into it. I've already ordered the parts, and there is a explanation at the end of the video as far as what I did to make the part work, and where you can get it and how I came across the solution in the first place. In the description you'll find a link to get the part and the manufacturer's data sheet for the part. And yeah, please subscribe if you enjoy. Thanks. Hope this helped. I'm just pulling out a couple of screws in the back plate. They have like little clips that go with them that are easy to come out. And that's pretty much it for that part. Unfortunately, as you can probably see, the back plate does not come out quite that easily. There's a couple of jacks in the back that are holding it in place. And I'm just kind of showing you that there. It's that left and right channel jack, or the jacks. So I'm just pulling the knobs off of the front panel because I'm anticipating pulling off the entire front panel to get that front headphone jack monitor port out. And I'm just pulling out some screws from the POTS daughter board that goes with it. Just trying to get it out of the faceplate. And then over here you can see I switched to my flexible extension for the iFixit toolkit, and that seems to work a lot better for some of those screws that were a little more stubborn and in weird to reach places. As you can see, it seems like I got it pretty under control for that particular screw, and I managed to get it out. And I've got a second one here that I'm also grabbing. Now next you can see me heating up my iron here. This is so we can get the jacks in the back pulled out, because obviously, I'm trying to get that back plate off. And the reason that we want to get that back plate off, even though the jack that we're going for is in the front, is because I believed that getting the back plate off would make it easier to get a screwdriver in there, have better access with our tools to be able to get to that front plate, as some of the capacitors and the board that was in the front, and for that matter the back plate in the back were all kind of impacting a screwdriver from getting in there. And here I am, just kind of at first I was trying to use that desoldering pump, and now I've got the desoldering wick here that I'm trying to pull up all the extra with. I've already pulled up a lot of the solder by this point, but for whatever reason the pins on the jack were just getting stuck, unless I heated it up, and then it would come out a little bit. Now ultimately what I found to work was, in one hand I'll have my pliers. I really ended up cannibalizing these ports, at least the ones in the back. I knew I had extras, so I didn't really mind. But I pull on one of the pins with the pliers, and then I use the soldering iron to heat it up, and use a couple of fingers on the opposite sides of that edge of the interface, and that's enough to get the ports undone. So here you can see I've just got the plastic pieces left because I pulled all the pins out, and the actual backplate came out too. And then I'm just taking a bit of time here just to unscrew them. For some reason I think they may have broken in the backplate, so it didn't quite go as I planned it, and I'm just kind of breaking them at this point, trying to get them out of there. Yep, there we go. Looks like I got them out. And then there is the back plate completely free of a jack. Now I'm moving on to try to get that. I tried to get a little extra solder out because there was some solder that was still stuck in that pinhole for one of the back jacks, and I don't think I ultimately got it out of there. It was being a bit stubborn. Now I'm moving on to looks like I'm just screwing in the new jacks for the back in there. And then I'm moving on. I go and try to get another screw out. I believe I am successful in getting this one out, if I'm not mistaken. This was one that was particularly difficult to get to with the back plate still on there. I think I had some luck getting to it there. Yep. I suppose I may not have had so much luck. So here I am. I'm just trying to pull the faceplate up, trying to see how it may come apart, because I really wanted to pull the whole thing off in one piece at this point, because I knew, I didn't have to detach it from the front plate. I just needed to, pull the front plate off with that circuit board. It would be okay. But I wasn't really finding where to do that, and it looks like one of the XLR ports is kind of in the way, unfortunately. So I don't know 100%, how that's supposed to come off the right way. What I did end up doing, I don't know if we're going to see it in a second. Looks like, actually, not quite there yet, but I'm just desoldering the front headphone jack, the one that had broken for me. And, just trying to make sure all the solder's taken out of there before I start prying up that jack the way I did the back jacks. And now I'm getting the pliers out just like I had before. I think actually what I ended up doing here is a little different than what I did before. Instead of trying to just pull the pins individually, I ended up grabbing the whole jack and just heating the pins individually and just pulling the jack up. That may have worked for the other jacks in the back. I'm not completely sure. But I believe it was better than what I did before because, you preserve the jack and it looks like it, in the front at least, we're kind of obstructed by that pot board, the board that has the pots on it. So getting it out this way is the least obstructive way. And here I got the actual jack out, but unfortunately there was some cosmetic damage, as you can see on the front plate, and I'm just trying to get the jack unscrewed at this point so I can put a new one in. Looks like I'm just using, I was using the pliers and a pair of tweezers. I've got a little scraping or prying tool there. I don't really know the name of it, but it is there. And I'm just kind of, trying to get the jack out. And looks like the faceplate broke apart there, unfortunately. So I've got the new port in there. I'm just putting it back at this point. You can see it's installed in that little piece of the front plate. So I'm just taking a little bit of time here, putting it back in, making sure it's oriented correctly, so I can go in the through holes. And now I'm using the soldering iron, and I was trying to push down on the circuit board to see if it would just go through the through holes, and that wasn't quite what was happening, unfortunately. So I spent a little bit of time getting that back in there, made sure they were popping through as I heated it, and then I put solder in there, and it looks happy except for the front. There's some damage on the front plate. So now that I believe this is actually when I put the solder on it because it got through the through holes. And after this is done, I believe we just give it our first test. Now I'm just reaching for my USB cable for power. Got the jack working. Gave me a thumbs up there. Testing some music, testing some microphone, making sure things are working. and they all did. So now we're just going to go ahead and start reassembling it. I believe I did not end up putting those back jacks back in correctly. I didn't solder them back in. I don't actually use those line out in the back, so I wasn't that concerned about it, but if I end up needing it down the line, then I'll probably go ahead and solder those back in. I just didn't have the patience for it. Now I'm just, at this point, I was just trying to get the back plate back on correctly so I can screw it back in. And what I did here is, because I was trying to basically get the back plate on correctly with the, the jacks where they should be. So I screwed the back plate in so that it would hold itself. And then I was going to try to heat up the ports so I could, solder them back in. Like I said, I don't believe this ended up happening in the end. But here I am. I'm trying it at least to get the ports to go through the through holes correctly. And I don't think I actually got there with it. And finally, here's final assembly. I was just putting it back in its shell. I've got some Velcro on it, as you can see, because I kind of mounted it on the bottom of my desk for convenience and getting it out of the way. And yeah, everything kind of comes back together. The only thing was it didn't quite fit together the way it used to, so I used a little bit of, force there to get it all the way in, and that's just enough to get the screw holes to line up, so I just go ahead and put the screws back in. So I'm recording this just before I start editing here, and I basically just wanted to show, how you can get the part that you actually need. So what I did was I bought these parts off of Mouser. They are the Nutric NRJ 3HF-1. They looked pretty similar to what I really needed. The only real differences are that the jack is fully threaded, as you can see. The original jack, I believe, let me see if I can show you. I know mine are a little messed up right now, but this is one of my original jacks. I pulled all the pins out of it to get it out of the board, but you can see it's like half threaded compared to the full thread on this one. I don't think this was really a big deal. It more or less functioned the same. Though granted, mine has a little bit of cosmetic damage, as you'll probably see in the video. Anyway, so this is an issue you can get past, but this one, this doesn't seem like something you could get past. And what I discovered is, at first I was thinking, man, am I gonna have to bend this pin out of the way? But no, really, this, if I can get the focus, this really just sits in the mold. It doesn't have any real connection that I can tell. So you can just you can just pull it out, and you get the pin out, and now it's pretty much identical to the original part except for the threading. So this is what I used in the video. This is what I guess the microphone's not really recording with it, but yeah, that's the part that I'm using in the video, and if my port breaks again, I've got 7 more that I can use here. So this is the website this is Nutric's website. This is ultimately the part that I got, but it's actually kind of interesting how we arrived here, and I thought I would share that. So I was doing what I thought was the obvious thing, Scarlett 2i2 3rd gen headphone jack repair. I found this video. And what I didn't realize at first was that this is actually a 2nd gen. And I followed it as if it was, gonna work for mine. I did recognize that these parts didn't really, match with the parts that I had, but I had some hope that maybe, they would work anyway. This is the guy's port. Obviously, it was really broken, but anyway, in the description, they have the audio jack and an Amazon link, and there we go. You can see I purchased it not that long ago. Unfortunately, it's not the right port for the Scarlett 2i2 3rd gen. So I didn't see anybody do a 3rd gen other than, well, this guy's actually a 2nd gen again. So not him. Then I saw this video about how to open a 3rd gen, but nothing about how to do anything with it, just how to open it. Looked like they weren't able to open, like they weren't able to get that backplate off because of those jacks there, that I ultimately get out in the video that I made here. So I didn't see anything about how to replace it. I don't think this is really even 3rd gen. This says 2016. The board says 2018. And I saw this, but they didn't have it here, from what I could tell. So basically, I think I had looked up something like replacement, or something along those lines. Anyway, let me see if I can find that. Spare. I mean, there's Focusrite spare parts here, where they say you can contact them with the spare parts form. But what I did see was this instrumental parts link. So I went here, and none of that loaded. I'm looking for. There's this one here. It says jack socket slim single TRS ST NRJ 3HH solo 3rd G, which I believe is for a 3rd gen Scarlett solo. And TRS was pretty significant to me because that told me that it was, what's it called? Just normal headphone jack, 3-pin. And this appeared to be some kind of number that I could use. So I tried searching it, and not much really came up. I looked in just about everything here, and these are all, not really helpful. However, this one does tell us that it is a Nutric, port. So ultimately, I looked up, Nutric, went to their website, and we go to products, we go to audio, we go to plugs and jacks, we go to jacks, and the slim jacks looked the closest. They mentioned the HH, but I couldn't find the HH anywhere on this website, at least in the J3 variety. I know that the HH exists in the 4 variety, but that's a mono jack, whereas the 3HF is a stereo jack. And for a little while I was still looking for HH. I went on these random Chinese retailers to try to find a replacement that I could verify would work. And I didn't really feel like paying $12 for that jack. So after some searching, this looked like it was my closest fit, other than the fact that it was threaded, fully threaded instead of half threaded. They also include 3D files and drawings and jack circuits, and it was that jack circuit PDF that told me that the only difference between the only pins that were actually doing anything were those 3 pins here, which is the same for the Gen 3 there. So I went on Mouser and pulled the trigger on 10 of those NRJ 3HF-1s. I like that it's not loading. And yeah, they arrived, and here we are. Interface working perfectly. So just wanted to kind of take you through a little bit of the journey as to how we even arrived here. Because it took a decent amount of research, I would say, to figure out that this port could even, or that this part could even work in the first place.